Hi guys! Konbanwan everyone! Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whatever time zone you're in, and welcome, welcome, welcome. It is currently 1:03 p.m. Central Time on September 15th, 2025. Nothing says no sleep stories like reading a no sleep story in the middle of the afternoon. How are you guys though? Happy Monday! Starting a new week and we are already halfway through September. Can you believe it? Halfway through September, we are almost to October. Which is perfect for this kind of story, if I do say so myself. Definitely not going to sleep. Awesome! It's working out just as intended. Made some really good ramen. That's good. That's awesome. I woke up early as I usually do, and I recorded some stuff, or tried to. My tonsil situation has kind of been all over the place lately. And then I talked to Yura for a while. We had a nice little call. It's been very nice. Hyperfixated on vintage story. Oh. Isn't the start of the week Sunday? No! It's not! Still hurting? Yeah. Unfortunately. I want it to go away. I have so many things to record. But, on the upside, getting progress on the Halloween original song, as well as a duet that we'll be releasing around Halloween as well. So that's going, and that's awesome. Getting more updates on next year's outfit and stuff like that. I also paid my quarterly taxes yesterday, because yesterday was the quarterly deadline, or one of the quarterly deadlines. The next quarterly deadline will be the last of the year. Woo! I'm a responsible taxpayer. Let's see, what did I do yesterday? Yesterday, I streamed with Aki, and then I helped with some stuff with a friend, and then I recorded a little bit of something, and then Kanizawa and Aki, they were playing Power Wash Simulator, and we watched a movie together while they played Power Wash Simulator. We watched Steel Magnolias, one of my favorite movies of all time. And I love people crying to that movie. Aki through her tears. I thought you said this was a comedy. It is, for like 80% of it, and then the last 30 minutes are terrible. I actually get really excited for this stream because I really enjoy the old no sleep story readings you did. Yeah, it's been a while since I've done this, and I was thinking about this because I mentioned this story to a friend of mine, and I was like, oh, I kind of want to read this again. It is so awesome to watch movies with people, especially when they're sad. I think it is such a unique experience to like cry with your friends. Gave them power wash ammo. During Sally Field's monologue at the very end, Aki told me that as soon as it started, both her and Connie they both like stopped washing. Like they both froze. It was very silly. Well, I should probably tweet that I'm live. Let me do that. Let's see. Where's my tweet? Let's see. Quote, retweet. Live now. Actually, let's use a GIF. Let's use a GIF. so that we get more traction. Let's see. Live now. Okay, and then we can use let's use not that. Whoa. Where is it? Where are my things that I used? What the hecky? Where did they go? Oh, sticker. Okay. Here we go. What is this? Live now. Add description. Art. Let's see. 1 second. Do gifts really help with engagement? I think pictures in general help with engagement. Let's see. Where? There we go. And it should be this. Copy. Save. Okay, it should be in the description. And post. Okay, and then I will do the same on YouTube Community. YouTube Community. And then post. Live now. Live now with no sleep story reading. And then image. And then let's use the same image we did before. Stream. And then I should link my stream. Alright, and post. Awesome. Alright, there we go. Whew. Oh my goodness. How are you guys doing? How was your weekend? How are you faring? How are you faring? Now that we're halfway through September, we're transitioning into autumn. Oh my gosh. My favorite thing is that Hani tweeted about how it's like getting chillier outside, but it is like 88 degrees. Girl, what are you talking about? You need a jacket right now. Decent overall. I'm addicted to Finib. He shows up on my TikTok so often. I actually want to do an experiment right now. Let's see how long it takes for my TikTok to have a Finibra tweet. Not tweet, but TikTok. Let's see. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29. What? Yesterday I saw like 5 videos of his. This is bullshit. I need to refresh this. Okay, let's see. It's low 60s here. I'm so jealous of you. Why does watching him make me feel pain? I always send his videos to my friends. Oh man, what happened? He's not showing up on my TL anymore on TikTok. No! My feed, my For You page isn't for me anymore. Now I just get Germa thirst traps. You hate your friends. Not true. Don't know who he is, but probably for the best. Maybe so. Maybe so. Ah, it's so silly. It's so silly. Time to listen to a Shiki stream without reading the title right before I take my normal midday sleep. Good morning, Shiki. Oh, scary stream? Yes. Yes. How about we get started then? So the title of this, it's pinned if you'd like to read along with me. It's a no sleep story titled I Dared My Best Friend to Ruin My Life. He's succeeding. And there are multiple parts. I don't know how far we can get today because it really depends on my throat because my tonsils are going crazy lately. But let's start. Let's start. My name is Xander, and my best friend is trying to ruin my life. It started out very small, but has quickly grown out of control. I'm currently sitting inside a church, using their Wi-Fi to post this story and take advantage of their air conditioning. I'm posting this story in case he finds me and kills me soon. It's only a matter of time now, and I want someone to know what happened before I die. 2 years ago, my friend David and I were sitting on the couch at my house, thoroughly bored. It wasn't a temporary boredom either. It was a resounding boredom with life. We both worked full-time at the local movie theater, making minimum wage, and cleaning up after idiots who couldn't keep popcorn and soda in their mouths. We had graduated high school 2 years prior and had no plans to attend college. Life looked bleak for us. College didn't sound appealing, work was annoying, and the little free time we had was blown on video games and YouTube. We both still lived with our parents too, which made dating somewhat embarrassing. Looking back, I'm sure we were suffering from mild depression on top of everything else. These life circumstances blended together to create the perfect storm for what I now have to call my reality. As we sat on the couch at my parents' house, channel surfing the TV, David asked me if I was bored with life. I responded in the positive, and he sighed. High school was so easy because we knew our purpose and our goals were set for us. Outline the English essay, finish the math homework, get decent grades, pass the driving exam, be home by curfew, find a girlfriend. Now that we're out of high school, there's no structure. Our lives have become meaningless, and we are just floating through space with no aim or purpose. Would you go back to high school then, I asked? He shook his head. In the moment, high school was annoying. It's only after looking back that I see how much better it was than I realized. What's the solution then? I asked. Either go somewhere that has structure and can deliver what high school gave us, or create our own structure, David replied. Well, I don't want to go to college or the military, I said. And I can't think of anywhere else that provides the same structure. Guess I have to make my own, but I have no idea where to start. The thing about high school was that it required a minimum effort. If you didn't give that minimum effort, you would face the consequences. The consequences were bad enough that you and I would put effort into school. When high school ended, that minimum effort level decreased. Now, our minimum effort is not enough to improve ourselves. Whatever structure we build has to have those consequences built in, and a minimum effort that forces us to improve constantly. David was, and is, a very intellectual person. He thinks about everything, if you can't already tell. I was pretty dumb compared to him, but I stuck around because he always had interesting things to say. This conversation definitely counted as interesting. I won't bore you with the entire conversation that we had, but it lasted an hour where we discussed how to build structure into our lives. I want to emphasize here that boredom is dangerous. Well, it's not dangerous by itself, but it can quickly lead to dangerous things. Boredom can lead to pain, accidental children, technology that disrupts a monopoly, and even death. Our boredom led to a dare. I dare you to try and ruin my life, David said. What does that mean? I asked. It was a way to build structure into my life. If If I know that you are always trying to ruin my life and actively trying to make me fail, then I'm driven to fight back and act on initiative. But how could I ruin your life, I asked. You could ruin anyone's life if you gave it enough thought, planning, and action, David said with a smirk. I'm not going to give you any ideas. I just want you to try and ruin my life. I remember sitting back and thinking about what he meant. The first thoughts that came to mind were about tripping him occasionally or hiding his toothbrush every time I went to his house. My young mind didn't fully understand how serious David was being. His mind was running 3 tracks above mine. So I didn't know what I was getting into when I said, okay, I'll try to ruin your life. But I dare you to try to... Oh my god, sorry. I had a burp come up my throat. But I dare you to try and ruin my life as well. He smiled with a newfound enthusiasm, and I smiled back. I had hoped it would be a great way to relieve my boredom with life. David stood up and punched me in the leg as hard as he could. I shouted at him, mostly out of surprise. He just laughed. The dare starts now, he said, grabbing his shoes. We are no longer friends. We are nemesis. He opened my front door and looked over his shoulder. Good luck, he said. I hope you'll work hard, half as hard as I will. One of these days, Shiki's just gonna let out a massive belch right on stream. Never! Never! Once he left, I just sat there, rubbing my sore thigh. Okay, I thought, if he wants a war, he'll get a war. That night, I had laid awake trying to think of ways to make his life harder for him. My ideas were also childish and useless compared to what he would later throw at me. I'm too embarrassed to list my ideas from back then. I wish I could say I remembered the day David turned against me for real. But it was so subtle that I didn't notice right away. To my face, David acted completely normal. While we were at work, I would sprinkle popcorn over a section he had just cleaned and point it out to him. He would just laugh and say, "Is that supposed to ruin my life?" Then he would clean it up. I expected him to do the same to me, but he didn't. His lack of visible retaliation made me bored again, so I stopped. Looking back, I suspect that behind my back, he was sabotaging my image with our other coworkers and our boss. Out of the blue, my boss called me into his office and told me that I was fired because I wasn't doing a good enough job. David acted sorry I was leaving, and we promised to hang out again soon. I left thinking I could make this something good and get a real job. That dream died, and I ended up at McDonald's instead. After I'd been at McDonald's for a month or so, my parents confronted me. They asked me if I had been stealing cash from their wallets. I'd never stolen a cent from them and told them so. They backed off, but only for a week until my mom's debit card went missing. They confronted me again, this time very angry. They accused me of withdrawing several $100s using my mom's debit card. I have no siblings, so it wouldn't have been anyone else in the house. It turned into a screaming match. They demanded that I move out as quickly as possible. With my small cash of savings, I found an apartment near the local community college that housed college students. The rent was affordable enough for me, so I moved out within the month. I moved in and became instant friends with 2 of my roommates, Clark and Ivan. Our other roommate, Isaac, kept to himself and stayed in his room playing video games 24/7. Life got good again because I hung out with Clark and Ivan frequently. David and I had stopped hanging out after I was fired from the movie theater. I hadn't forgotten about him, but I had forgotten about the dare. Every once in a while, I would message him on Facebook or shoot him a text to ask if he wanted to hang out, but my messages were always ignored. Eventually, I gave up. My dog was chewing on his banky. Let me drink some water. Here we go. Within 6 months, I had a great life going. I was dating a girl named Katie. I'd been promoted to crew trainer at McDonald's, which paid better, and my bank account was slowly growing. I only recognize this as David's doing when I look back, but an obscene amount of junk mail showed up with my name on it every single day. Magazines, credit card offers, vacation ads, and even physical letters from real people who claimed to be excited to be my new pen pal. I sorted through them every day trying to find some pattern. Clark and Ivan thought it was hilarious. When I came home late from work, they would sometimes toss the junk mail in the air like confetti as I walked through the door cheering that the Mail King was home. One day, I remember feeling sick of getting all this junk mail and decided to sit down, call every subscription to cancel. I recruited Clark and Ivan to help me, and we'd sat down with snacks one afternoon and started to crank through phone calls. In a few days, the tide of junk mail subsided, and we celebrated our efforts. That only lasted a week. The next week, it started coming back in full force. There was twice as much as before, and even some pornographic magazines in the mix. Not only did my physical junk mail increase, but my email became unnavigable through all the new spam messages. Google moved a lot of it to the spam filter, but there were still hundreds of emails that made it through. My email had been subscribed to websites I'd never even heard of. Clark and Ivan were blown away by the new tide of junk mail. The event was dubbed Return of the Junk and became a great icebreaker for Clark and Ivan to introduce me to other people at parties. One day, I was browsing Facebook's People You May Know section when I came across someone's profile that had my picture, but a different name. The account was open for anyone to view and had a lot of porn posts, status updates full of swearing, and praises to Hitler. I frowned when I clicked on their pictures. Most of the pictures were the same ones from my Facebook account, but there were some pictures of me that weren't on my account, or anywhere else online. Keep in mind, I didn't remember my dare to David, so I was feeling pretty creeped out. I hit the report button and let Facebook know that the account was a fake and went on my way. I think 3 months or so later is when more stuff started to happen. Katie and I were getting serious and discussed moving in together. The junk mail is still rolling in and I've started to throw it away. Ivan has moved out to go to an actual university, so a new roommate, Jackson, has moved in. Clark and I attempted to befriend Jackson, but he's similar to Isaac and locked himself in his room most of the time. A new game became available for pre-order, so I have submitted my email to reserve a copy. When I tried to log into my email to make sure the reserve code was there, I couldn't log in. I hit forgot password and it asked if I wanted to use my phone number to reset the password. I pressed yes and waited for my phone to light up. It never did. I pressed the button 3 more times, but no text ever came. I tried old passwords I used to use, but none of them worked. I frowned, but eventually just walked away from my computer. I tried again a different day. I sat down on the couch and pulled up Facebook on my phone. A pop-up appeared. You've been signed out, it said. Then it jumped to the login screen. I thought I'd hit the logout button on accident, so I just typed in my email and password. It didn't work. I tried again, but it still told me my password was incorrect. My phone buzzed in my hand. Katie was calling me. I answered it and immediately became concerned. She was sobbing. Katie? I said. You coward, she spat. You don't get to just Facebook me that shit. No, you have to talk to me and tell me with your voice. Katie, what are you talking about? I asked. Don't play stupid, asshole. Say it. Say what? You Facebook me and say we're through? But when I call, you deny everything? What the hell are you trying to pull, Xander? Katie hissed. Katie, my Facebook was hacked. I was literally just trying to log in when you called. Are you at home? I'm coming over. We are not done. We are far from done, sweetheart. It took me some time to convince Katie that it hadn't been me, but she relented when I showed her that I couldn't log in. I Googled how to get my Facebook account back and contacted their help center. Thankfully, they were able to get me back into my account. Lots of links to porn sites had been posted all over my page by whoever jacked my account. So, I spent time deleting all those. I also spent time answering family members who asked about the strange content I had been posting. Awkward. Katie also found out through her feeds that my Twitter and Instagram had been hacked. The accounts were posting hundreds of crude messages and pictures. These 2 sites took a little more effort, but eventually I regained control over those too. Fixing my email took a couple of days, but I got access again. Not wanting to repeat the experience, I made my passwords into really long strings of numbers, letters, and symbols. Each account had a different password. For anyone who has done this, you know how impossible it would be to memorize your passwords. I wrote them down on a sheet of paper and put it in my dresser drawer. I didn't intend to get hacked again. I'm telling you where I put the paper so you know how freaked out I was when Facebook signed me out again the next week. I checked my other accounts, locked out again. I shot Katie a text to warn her, then called the Facebook Help Center again. They gave me access to Facebook and gave me the same warning about making a long password. When I told them the type of precautions I had taken last time, they suggested checking my computer for viruses in case there was a keylogger collecting all the information I typed. I called a computer repair center and asked what I needed to do to get my computer scanned. They asked me to bring it down and they'd check it out. I had a desktop, so bringing it down required a lot of unplugging. When I got down behind the computer to unplug everything, I found a tiny USB stick that I'd never seen before. I frowned and tried to locate its contents on the computer. The computer said no USB was attached. The computer repair guy confirmed that the USB drive was a keylogger. He asked if my computer had ever been anywhere that anyone could walk up and use it. I told him no, and he said he had no idea how it could have gotten there. He didn't charge me anything, just warned me to keep an eye on my computer. I changed all my passwords again, going through the motions to get my accounts back. A few days later, I received three credit card bills in the mail. I still had the habit of skimming through the junk mail in case there ever was anything super important, and I'm glad I did because I might never have found out about the credit cards that were registered in my name. I called their credit card companies to inform them that they were mistaken. I had never signed up for a credit card. My parents had warned me about them so often that I had been deterred from ever getting one. Before you comment and tell me I need them to build my credit, yes, I know that now. A quick Google search told me what to do next. I called Equifax, which is a company that calculates your credit score and tells creditors that it's okay for you to open a credit account. I placed a 30-day fraud alert on my credit. They said they would call me if anyone tried to open a credit account in my name. The dude at Equifax was kind enough to tell me what I needed to do next. He asked me to go online and view my credit report. If I saw any accounts I didn't recognize, I was to write them down and fill out a complaint to the Federal Trade Commission explaining the situation. Once I had that submitted, I was to file a copy of it with the police and create a police report. Then I had to take those two reports and call each of the credit companies that had issued credit to my identity and start the dispute process. I instantly felt very discouraged at the amount of effort this would require. It felt utterly insane to be required to follow all these steps just because I was the victim of identity theft. God damn. Clark was horrified at what had happened and looked at his credit score. He was relieved when it came back clean. I made Katie check hers too, just in case. Also clean. I'll take a minute to tell everyone reading that you are entitled by law to one free credit report per year from each of the 3 credit score companies. That means you can and should check your credit 3 times a year. Clark and I set reminders on our phones to check the scores again in 4 months. I asked Katie to do the same. When I first found out about the accounts, I had called my parents to ask if they had opened any accounts in my name. If they had, I'd at least know who the culprit was. They told me they hadn't opened any accounts and I warned them about my problems. They promised to check their credit score. 2 weeks after I called them, my dad called. They found 15 fraudulent accounts between the 2 of them. What the hell? I told him the steps he needed to take and he was grateful for my help and warning. I know this is boring to read, but I want you to realize how insanely painful it was to fix all this shit. Seriously, watch your credit reports and nip identity theft in the bud before it happens to you. I'd recorded detailed bills from my credit card companies that had issued the fraudulent accounts and they mailed them to me. The bills were full of online purchases. The accounts had been opened almost a year ago, and in that time, the thief had spent $62,000 between all the fraudulent accounts. I was pretty upset that in a full year, I had only just found any credit card bills in the mail. I must have been tossing them with the mountains of junk mail. Now I know that the masses of junk mail were deliberate and calculated so the bills would blend in and hopefully get thrown away. The first few transactions were from stores like Target, Walmart, etc. But the further down I went, the less I recognized. One word stuck out to me: Bitcoin. I learned a little about it from my Facebook feed as I had some friends from high school who touted it as the next real currency. According to the credit card statements, several $1,000s had been exchanged in Bitcoin. I started really researching Bitcoin and tried to figure out what it was and why an identity thief would want it. To make the explanation short, Bitcoin allowed my thief to make completely anonymous purchases online. It was as if he'd gone to an ATM and drained all the credit cards into cash. I didn't foresee the credit card companies ever getting their money back. David now had a hell of a lot of cash he could use to ruin my life. I didn't know it was him at the time, obviously, but now I do. Guys, identity theft is a serious crime and is very damaging to everyone in the economy. And while theft had been bad, my life was about to get a whole lot worse. That's all I have to write down for now. I have to go and get some serious shit taken care of. I'll write again as soon as I can. My name is Xander, and my best friend is trying to ruin my life. That was part 1. That was part 1. So. Uh-oh. Identity theft is not a joke, Shiki. Yes. That was part 1. We're gonna read part 2 in a second. I'm just gonna drink some water. That's what happens when you dare someone. That's so fucking scary. I remember this came out like a long while ago. This was posted 9 years ago. And I don't think it was like fully updated when I first read it. This will be very, very interesting to see what happens actually. Modern day cryptic scenario. Oh my gosh. But I remember reading this for the first time when I was a teenager, and I was like, wow, this is crazy. Because I'd read No Sleep Stories like all the time between like 2013 to like 2016. And this is one of the ones I read, and I was like, oh my god. Alright, here we go. Part 2. Hello again, everyone. I've had more time to write than yesterday. Sorry about the length. I'm trying to catch up to the present as quickly as possible, but also include enough detail so you can see how thorough David was being. I'll resume where I left off. While I was still trying to resolve the credit disputes with those companies, my car's window started getting smashed. The first time, it was parked on the street in front of my apartment. I woke up one morning to find the driver's window smashed and my car raided. My car was just a crappy Honda Civic, and I didn't ever keep anything expensive in there, but they snatched my stereo, which was shitty anyway, and all the spare change in the car. Desperate much? I got my window repaired that day and decided to set aside some cash to buy a really nice stereo now that I had an excuse. The next morning, the same window was smashed again. Again, I had parked it in front of my apartment. I got that repaired reluctantly and started to park in the underground parking for the apartment complex. See, no one likes the underground parking because the lines are painted too close, so it's not uncommon for your car to get scratched up. Down there, I decided it was better than a smashed window, so I fought for a spot that evening. I know you're gonna ask why I didn't call the police. Mistakes. That's why we all make them. You have the wisdom that comes with knowing the whole story. I didn't. Glass was all over around my car when I went down the next morning. It wasn't just the driver's window that was damaged. The front windshield and back windshield were deeply cracked. I spent some time looking at every car in the garage. No one else had so much as a scratch on their windows. What the hell? If some random asshole was out breaking windows, he was targeting me. I noticed the note after I'd gotten into the car. It was a sticky note folded up and slipped into the ignition keyhole. I opened it. You have to increase your minimum required effort, it said. The phrasing was intentional. David wanted me to know it was him. And when I saw that phrase, I remembered our conversation. That fucker. I went into a total rage and drove out of the parking lot, trying my best to drive with a cracked windshield. I still remembered how to get to David's house, and I ran a red light or two to get there. Parking in front of his house, I slammed the door shut and marched to the front door. I held the doorbell for much longer than necessary. I tried to breathe and remain calm. David won't help me if I show up shouting and yelling. His mom answered after a few minutes. David's parents had held off on having a child until they were much older. As a result, David's mom was already 75, even though David was only 23. "Hello?" she said, opening the door, and she saw who it was. "Oh, Xander, how nice of you to come over. I haven't seen you in weeks." "Yes, it's been almost a year," I sighed. "Miss K, is David home?" "No, sorry, dear, he's at work right now." "Okay, I'll go and catch him at the theater," I said, backpedaling towards my car. No, he doesn't work there anymore." "He got fired?" I asked. "No, he quit not long after you did. He became a security guard somewhere. He never mentioned where." "I'll call him then," I said. "He dropped his phone a few weeks ago and got a new one," she said. "Let me give you the new number." She walked back inside for a minute, and I waited on the porch. She came back with her old flip phone and opened it. "Do you mind?" she asked. "My arthritis makes it hard to use this phone." I went to her contacts, found David's number, entered it into mine, and handed the phone back. "Thanks, Miss K," I said. Even if David was being an asshole, I had always liked his mom. "Anytime," she said with a smile, and closed the door. Hold on, behind my ear is itchy. Oh, yeah. I called David immediately, but only got a voicemail. "Hi, David. It's Xander. I just spoke with your mom, and she didn't know where you were, so she gave me your number. Please call me, man. I think you know why," I said to his voicemail. I figured that being polite was the best way to go to get him to fix everything. In the middle of work that day, my phone buzzed, hoping it was David. I stepped outside and answered. It was Clark. "Xander, have you been home today since you left?" "No." "Why?" "We've been robbed." "What?" "Someone broke in and stole a ton of stuff. Your computer is missing, our TV is gone, all kinds of shit." "Son of a bitch," I said. "Did you call the police?" "Yes, they're on their way. Don't touch anything, okay?" I suggested, remembering all the episodes of CSI that I'd binged on. "We might be able to get fingerprints. I think I know who it is." "Who?" "An ex-friend. I'll tell you when I get home. I'm leaving soon." I told the manager that my apartment had been broken into, and he let me go home. I drove home with my still broken windshields, praying I didn't get pulled over for it. When I got to the apartment, the police were already there. I walked to the landing when a cop was interviewing Clark and another was looking through the apartment. The cop turned to face me. "Are you one of the roommates?" he asked. "This is Xander," Clark said. "My partner is looking through the apartment now. A tech is going to come out and dust for prints. We're going to need you to make an inventory of everything that was stolen and bring it to the station once the tech is done." "I have a suspect," I said. The cop raised his eyebrows. "His name is David King. He used to be a really good friend of mine, but recently I've suspected that he's doing all kinds of shit to me. I think he's stolen my identity and my parents' identity, damaged my vehicle, and now broken into my house." Clark shot me a questioning look. "Why do you think he's doing all this?" the officer asked. "I found this in my car's ignition this morning with the window smashed," I said, handing him the folded sticky note out of my pocket. He read it. "Why do you think he wrote this?" he asked. "We had a conversation about a year ago where we talked about the minimum requirements for success and how school made our lives easier because it had consequences if we didn't make a minimal effort." I explained. It looked like the idea went right over the cop's head. "We'll test this for prints too," was all he said, pulling an evidence bag from his belt and putting the note inside. "Come down to the station with your inventory and be ready to make a formal statement about your friend." I agreed to do so. At that moment, the partner came outside with nothing to report. The tech arrived and started dusting. We waited patiently, eager to see what was missing. "You really should lock your bedroom doors," the partner said. "Two of your roommates' doors are locked, so I doubt anything was stolen from them. You should make sure they check their rooms for anything that's missing when they get home." We agreed to ask them. The tech finished up and told us we'd know in a few days what prints he was able to find. The house seemed bare. Only the largest couch out of 3 was left in the living room. The TV, which had been in 65-inch plasma, was gone. Food was missing from the pantry, and even the contents of the fridge were dumped on the floor. Silverware was scattered around the kitchen floor and counters. Where the hell is Isaac or Jackson? Clark yelled angrily. They're always home. We should call them, I said. I don't have their numbers, Clark replied. Well, neither do I said, walking to my bedroom. It was stripped bare of anything worthwhile. My computer, my mouse, keyboard, computer chair, boxes of random knickknacks. Bicycles were all missing. My dresser drawers were laying everywhere. My closet was clearly raided, and my bed covers had been tossed around the room. I heard bouts of loud cursing from Clark as he inspected his room. He took my goddamn Xbox, that son of a bitch! Feeling shocked, defeated, and numb, I sat on the bed. I called Katie to tell her what happened. No answer. I shot her a text. My house got robbed, and stared at the wall for a while, thinking. David King had been in my house. He'd stolen my identity, my public image, and now my things. It was time to step up my game. No, not my game, my life. Time to stop floating through life and start beating the minimum required effort. During the rest of the day, we learned a lot about plumbing. David had loosened every pipe he could find in the house. Clark made the discovery when our toilet unleashed a tsunami when he flushed. We spent hours cleaning that up. To fix all the pipes, we had to go out and buy tools because neither of us had any in the house. When my card was declined, Clark stepped in and paid. My declined card worried me. Clark and I went to the library and I tried to log into my online banking site, locked out. Shit. I didn't even bother retrying my password. We raced to the bank before they closed and I breathlessly approached the teller. I need to freeze my account. What's your account number? The teller, apparently named Chantel, asked. I told her my account number from memory. She opened it on her computer. Driver's license, please. I handed her my card. She typed my driver's license number into my computer to verify my identity, then handed it back to me. Looks like your account is at 0, she said. You can only freeze the account if there's money. I've been robbed, I shouted, feeling extremely angry now. You moved all your money to your debit card via our online app and then withdrew it all in cash from an ATM this afternoon. No, it wasn't me, I said. I've been hacked. If you'd like to report fraudulent transactions, I can fill that out for you right here. Yes, fine, do it, I said abruptly. Clark watched me with worry a chair by the door. When did you start to notice the fraudulent activity, she asked. Today, but it could have started any time over the last year, I replied. She raised her eyebrows in a way she thought I couldn't see and started typing. After a few minutes, she looked at me. Okay, I filled out the report and submitted it. You should hear back from our fraud department soon. What about ATM cameras, I said. I don't have access to those. You'll have to file a police report, she said. Okay, I'll do that. Then Clark and I went to the car and drove to the apartment. We would have gone to the police department right away, but the apartment was still flooded in places. We spent a few hours finding leaky pipes and tightening them. It took hours because we looked everything up before we did it to be sure we were doing it right. Clark inspecting the pipes under the kitchen sink while I sat at the table and started my inventory for the police. It was already 9 p.m., so we were going to take it in the morning. Our local station wasn't open 24 hours a day. We knocked on Jackson and Isaac's doors but got no answer. Either they weren't home or they were ignoring us. I'm really sorry about all the fraud going on, Clark said as he tightened a pipe. You said you think you know who it is? Who's David King? David used to be a friend about a year ago, I said. I told him about the dares and the conversation that led up to it. You dared each other to ruin each other's lives and then he took it more seriously? Clark asked, incredulous. Apparently, I sighed. So you're not going to hold up your end of the deal, Clark said. My end? He dared you first, man, and you haven't even tried. Well, no, I guess not. Then let's think of something to really destroy his life. Clark pulled himself out from under the sink and washed the grease off his hands. Prison would do it, I suggested. If I can nail him for identity theft, that'll solve the problem. True, Clark said, but we need to show him that you aren't going to just lay down and take it. I have an idea. It's not going to ruin his life, but it'll make him realize that you're going to fight back. Clark took me in his car to Home Depot. We bought 2 cans of black spray paint, and Clark paid in cash. Okay, where does this dumbass live? Clark asked when we were back in the car. Clark, his mom is great. I don't think I can spray her house, I replied. His mom? Clark laughed hysterically. Some guy that still lives with his mom is terrorizing you? Okay, Jesus, I said. I gave him the address and he took off. We drove past the house to see if any lights were on. It was dark. Even the porch lights were off. We parked 3 blocks away from the house and started walking. What's the plan? I uttered. Spray thief on the front of the house. Clark whispered with a smile. That ought to get the neighbors talking. When we were next to the neighbor's house, we ducked behind a fence and surveyed the neighborhood. All was quiet, no movement, no noise, no people. We stayed low and silently dashed to the front of the house. I sprayed the F, Clark sprayed the T, and we worked towards each other. It barely took 3 seconds. We stepped back for half a second and examined our hard work. The letters were 3 feet tall, easily visible from the road. Perfect. We turned and started to run towards the car. Then the door to the house opened. I glanced over my shoulder. David fucking King. Oh shit, I hissed. Clark heard me and we sprinted full on towards the car. David tore down the sidewalk after us. Clark looked behind us as well. Oh God, oh God, oh God, Clark chanted with each step. He actually looked worried. As we approached the car, Clark had a realization. Just keep going. He tried to whisper even though he was out of breath. I locked the door. It'll take too long to unlock and he'll know my license plate. Clark didn't have automatic locks. He had to use the key manually. I agreed with his logic and we ran past the car as if it were just another vehicle. I looked back and David was gaining on us. It was too dark to see his expression. Hell, I didn't even know if he recognized me. Split up, I cried, turning right into someone's front yard. Clark kept going straight. When I reached the white plastic fence that led along the back of their property, I glanced backwards. David had followed me and ignored Clark. I scrambled up the slippery fence and dropped on the other side. I had landed in someone else's backyard. I started running towards their front yard. The motion detecting light on the wall went off, blinding me. I looked behind me again to watch David scale the fence in half a second. What? When the hell had he learned to do that? I rounded the corner of the house and smashed right into a patio table and chairs. The chairs clattered down and the table tipped over while my body folded around it. My heart was pounding as I untangled myself. That's when David grabbed the back of my neck and pushed me down, my face against the edge of the table. Oh. That's part 2. Let's take a tiny bit to rest our throat for a second before we continue. How do you guys feel about the story so far? I feel like it really rips you in, you know? Very strange. I'm gonna have a little snack. Oh yeah, he became a security guard. The M. Night Shyamalan twist is coming, I know it. It sure is interesting. All the identity stuff made me so anxious. Usually horror stories are about things that can actually happen. Yeah. It's the worst when it's stuff that can actually happen. Too close to home. The twist is that David ages years in a day. No, not old. No. Scariest thing of all, fraud. Fraud is scary. Exceptionally scary. When they said ruin their life, they meant it. I was expecting some actual horror black magic stuff, but yeah, reality is oftentimes scarier. It really is. Gotta drink as much water as possible. I dare you to support my life. That sounds like a story with a good ending. That sounds like a good ending kind of story. Alright. I think it's time to continue. Oh my god, Conrad, thank you so much for the Streamlabs dono. Shiki, don't get so caught up in the story that you forget you are not holding a cup of coffee or tea and actually try to drink the candle. Me drinking hot candle wax? Something tastes a little off. Thank you. Alright, part 3. Hello again, everyone. So many positive replies, thank you. I haven't smiled in months, and you're definitely all making my days easier. I love how almost every notification is giving me a countdown every couple hours. Remind me 8 hours. Thank you for making me laugh. Seriously, I needed it. I had a close call, and David almost found me today. I caught a bus out of town, which is where I wrote this. I like that this guy is like... I like when they lead into the RP of the story. Now we continue. Hello, Xander, he growled. Out for a walk? Fuck you, I spat, my cheek jammed against the table edge. Why so hostile? You know why, jackass. Not so loud, we're having a nice, quiet conversation. I struggled to push my head off the table, but he was so much stronger than me. Stop struggling and listen. Listen, I want to clarify the rules of the game since you finally caught on to what we're playing. This isn't a game. You ruined my credit, stole my money, hacked my accounts, and stole my shit. I'm gonna kill you. But I'm not gonna kill you. That's the rule. I will not kill you, Xander. That would put an end to your ruined life, and that's not the goal. Now, you haven't put any effort into ruining my life. Why not? Because I'm not a sick psychopath, I hissed. Clearly not, he said coolly. But this is boring for me. I'm doing all the work making you fight for life while you're doing nothing to improve me. Not that I haven't learned anything, but it would be more fun if you'd fight back. I'll even let Clark help you, but I think you need motivation. You think I need motivation to hurt you? As if. Yes, you do need it, because despite everything that's happened to you, your only attempt to fight back was pathetic. I need you to up your game and fight harder, so that's where some motivation kicks in. He reached his left hand into his pants pocket and pulled out a smartphone. He tapped on it a few times before holding it up to his ear. It's me, he said when the other line picked up. Put her on. Then he held the phone to my ear. Someone was crying. Say hello, a gruff voice said. Hello? Katie. Jesus Christ. He's kidnapped Katie. You motherfucker, I yelled. Easy on the language, Xander, David smiled, talking as if he'd asked me to eat my vegetables. Katie, where are you? I said desperately into my phone. David took the phone away and hung up, sticking it back into his pocket. Do you understand the rules now, Xander? Are you motivated? I'm gonna kill you, you son of a bitch. You'll burn in hell. Now, this isn't a theological discussion, David tutted. You and Clark do your best to ruin my life. Do whatever you want, but if you kill me, I kill Katie. Can't kill her if you're dead, I growled. No, but my friend will. It's amazing the kind of people you can meet online. He's just as excited to play as I am. Do you have any questions before the game really starts? What the hell happened to you? I asked. We were best friends. Things change, he said. I've been dreaming of this game for years now. You were my only real friend I could do this with. One day, I decided to just go for it. You've ruined your own life by trying to ruin mine, I spat. Once you're convicted of identity theft and kidnapping, your life is over. That's part of the game. Can't ruin me if you can't convict me. I've been preparing for years, he grinned. His eyes were dark and menacing. Don't you think that's unfair to me? How am I supposed to put in a good effort if you've been preparing for years? I'll consider giving you some advice, he admitted, looking thoughtful. In the meantime, do your best and tell Clark to play along because I'll have some motivation for him too. The sound of scrambling on the back fence alerted us to someone's presence. I shouted for help, and David slapped me, but lightly. I tried to see who it was from my limited movement. Clark's face appeared over the fence. That's my cue to leave, David said with a smile. It's been good catching up with you, Xander. Clark shot across the yard, yelling for David to piss off. David just stood there looking at me and waiting. That's when Clark caught up and punched him square in the face. David flew to the ground, releasing my head. I stood up and rubbed my sore face. David started to get up, but Clark kicked him in the side. Stay down, he shouted. A light went on in the house behind us. We both turned to look. I had the thought to hold David here until the police arrived. When we turned back around, David was halfway down the street. Clark started to take off, but I grabbed his arm. Stop! Let him go, I said in defeat. I have something to tell you. We made a quiet decision to avoid the cops tonight. We wanted to file a report with them on our terms, not having to explain what we were doing trespassing in the middle of the night. We jogged back to his car and went home. We sat on the living room couch as I told Clark about David's conversation. Clark was staring down, dumbfounded at me. I thought you said he used to be a friend, he said. He did. But he never acted like this? No, not to me. This is insane, Clark said, standing from the couch. He's kidnapped Katie just so you'll try to ruin his life and follow along with some stupid dare? Is he crazy? He's gonna be caught. Let's hope so, I said, but we should start planning. I'm not taking any chances while he has Katie. Okay, man. I want nothing to do with this at all, but I also want to help you. If it was anyone else, I'd nope the fuck out. Then let's get started, I said. I don't know how much detail I want to put here because it'll likely get slow and boring for you. We stayed up all night long mapping out events. People, weaknesses, strengths, everything we could think of. We filled half a notebook with all our notes. These were the weaknesses we could come up with that we could potentially use against David. Boredom with life, so we can make the game too boring to continue. His mom, if she knew what was going on, she might be able to get him to stop. I know some of you commented that we should kidnap Mrs. K and use her, but we were still very green and had no desire to do this kind of shit David was using. Work. Get him fired and make sure no one would hire him again. Online accounts. Do the same things to him that he'd done to me. Police. If we could come up with some hard evidence to get him convicted, the problem would be solved. Katie. Since he had kidnapped Katie, the police would definitely get involved. I could easily report my suspicions about David, and they'd search him for the tiniest evidence. Then we looked at his strengths and things to look out for. Prepared. He obviously had a timeline he was following and knew what he was doing. Time. The junk mail and credit card frauds had all began long before I felt the effects. This meant that there could be other traps David has set up that would go off like a time bomb sometime in the future. Physical body. It was clear from tonight that he'd been working out a ton and practicing, possibly training for his job as a security guard. Money. He had a lot of money now from when he stole from me and used fraud to receive. Friends. If he'd made a friend who was willing to get involved in a kidnapping, there were 2 or possibly more psychopaths to worry about now. Knowledge. He knew how to use fraud without being caught, yet, and hack computers or at least hire someone to do it for him. We had no idea what other dangerous knowledge he might have, so we made a list of things he could know that we should learn how to counter. I won't list it here because it was pretty long. Willingness to break the law. It was clear that the law was not part of the rules of the game for him. He was either unafraid to be caught or confident that he never would be. After we looked at David, we looked at ourselves. First, our weaknesses. Knowledge. We didn't have nearly the amount of knowledge David had. Not just knowledge about how to do things like fix a pipe, but also knowledge about David, who his friends were, where he worked, who he talked to. We'd have to start learning like crazy to try and catch up. Money. I had no money left. Clark was limited because he'd just spent a ton on that plasma TV that was just stolen. Home and car. David knew where we lived. We planned to sell our lease ASAP. He also knew our cars, but there was nothing we could do about that until we moved and had some money to buy a junker car we could use when necessary. No matter where we moved, if he could find our car, he could follow us home. Katie. If David decided to change the rules and use Katie as motivation, we might have to rethink everything. Fear. Clark and I knew that deep down, David terrified us more than he angered us. I would have rather walked away the exact revenge. We were also afraid and unwilling to do a lot of the things David had already done. These were our strengths. Law. The law was on our side so long as we kept things legal. Clark's credit. So far, David hadn't targeted Clark like he targeted me, so we could take precautionary measures to protect him. Jobs. We had jobs and could therefore earn more money. Unless David found a way to get us fired from them, we needed to come up with a way to protect our jobs from David. FTC, police force, and government. These government bodies, with all their vast resources, were working for us on my identity theft. We thought it was likely that they'd be able to link David to my identity theft. Looking at the strengths and weaknesses of both parties side by side, it looked like an even matchup on paper. But just thinking about trying to fight David made us feel like we were up against an impossible enemy. We sat down to eat breakfast and continued talking over what we would do. Both of us called in sick to work so we could start preparing. All right, I posted our leases up for sale on Craigslist, I said, putting my phone down. Clark was sniffing the air with a confused expression. He leaned over and smelled a cereal. Does this smell bad to you? He asked. I sniffed. Smells like cereal to me, I said. Huh, smells bad to me. He dumped the cereal in the sink. Clark pulled out his phone and called Equifax, letting them know that he wanted a freeze on his credit for 90 days. When those 90 days were up, he would call again and again until this matter was resolved to protect his credit. His credit card with a $3,000 limit was still accessible to us, but no new credit could be applied for. He then went on every account he had online and changed every password to be random gibberish. He signed up for an online password manager and put his passwords in there. The password manager worked by only storing an encrypted file on their server. He would download his encrypted file from the password manager website, read or write to the file, re-encrypt it, and then send it back to the server. The server only held the encrypted file, no passwords. Even if this company got hacked, the hackers would only have a bunch of useless encrypted files. They could crack the files with time, sure, but it was the best we could do. The only account he didn't put into the password manager was his bank account information. He wrote down half the username on one small scrap of paper and the other half on another. He did the same with the password. He intended to hide them in safe places around town. If David got a hold of Clark's bank information, we were dead in the water. While he did that, I finished both of our inventories to hand over to the police as soon as they opened for the day. Once the station opened, we were going to head over, hand in our inventories, file a police report for the burglary, and recommend David as a possible suspect. I also planned to point them to my identity theft police report and state that I suspected David to be guilty of that as well. Once we had the police report, we would go to our landlord and request for the locks to be changed, using the police report as evidence of the break-in. The tech had told us that the door had been opened regularly and not forced. That meant David had somehow made a copy of our key. As it got close to 9 a.m., we got into Clark's car and drove around town. He got out at 4 locations and hid his scraps of paper somewhere. He knew it had to be somewhere people didn't touch for months at a time and wouldn't be damaged or moved by sprinklers, storms, etc. I don't know where he hid them, but he assured me they were safe. After they were hidden, we drove to the police station to file our report. We waited patiently for an officer to see us. Once we were called over, we took a seat and told him about that break-in, and then a police report had been started, and we were now turning in an inventory of our stolen things. We have a suspect for the burglary, I said at last. Okay, who? He asked. His name is David King. He used to be a friend of mine, but not anymore. What happened? He asked, writing the name down. Recently, I had my identity stolen, I said. I suspect he was also behind that, so if he stole my identity, it's likely that he broke in too. He hates me. Okay, but what actually happened that made you not be friends anymore? I hesitated. I didn't know how to explain the situation. If anyone can think of a better way to explain the situation to a cop, let me know. I only said, we had a major fight and he threatened to ruin my life. When was this fight? About a year ago. And you think he's just now stealing your identity and breaking into your home? The cop said dubiously. Were you friends with him? He asked, gesturing to Clark. No, I'm his roommate, he replied, pointing to me. Okay, boys, the officer sighed, scooting forward. Thank you for the tip and your inventories. We'll investigate this just like any other crime and give it our best effort. Can I get copies of your driver's licenses and phone numbers so I can contact you if I have questions? We handed him our licenses and wrote down our phone numbers in the file. I'll be right back, he said, taking the licenses to make copies. We looked at each other for a minute, taking a deep breath. He doesn't believe us, I said in resignation. He doesn't... We'll find evidence, he encouraged me. 5 minutes passed, then 10. Then the officer came back, 2 others at his side. Clark Ulises? He asked. Yes, Clark said, confused. You're under arrest for vandalism and trespassing on private property. The officer slanked him and pulled him to his feet. I stared at the cops in bewilderment. Clark's eyes were wide. When I went to copy your license, the cop said, holding it up, I checked it against our records. Last night, someone called in a report that you'd been to their home and sprayed thief on their house and then attacked him when he came out to stop you. My mouth dropped open. Son of a bitch. David King, the one you just recommended as a suspect, was the one who called it in. Seems to me like you're trying to discredit him before he reported you. Guess he beat you to it. Read him his rights, he said to the other officers. Wait, I said, standing up. Hold on. I was there too. It wasn't just him. Clark shook his head at me ever so slightly. No, I wasn't going to let him take the fall for this. Mr. King explicitly stated that there was only one vandal and that he watched Mr. Ulysses sneak up to the house and spray it by himself. I know you're trying to protect your friend, but don't throw your life away, kid. One of the officers started reading Clark his Miranda rights while they cuffed him and walked him towards the door, leading to inmate processing. Call my mom for bail. I'll be out soon, Clark shouted behind him. Don't let him win. And that's part 3. Ooh. I'm gonna drink some more water. Tennis, love it. Yeah, we're gonna start part 4 in a minute. We're gonna take short breaks in between reading so I can give my throat a little bit of a rest from constant reading. Oh. My goodness. And then after my throat rests for a little bit, I'll probably go to the bathroom for a minute. We shall see. What a day. What a day. Enjoying the spooky BGM during work? Oh yeah. I too love spooky BGM during work. Oh my gosh. My cheeks feel so warm. I feel like I may have a fever, but I can't check because, guys, I've talked about how my puppy now knows how to jump up, like he's big enough to jump up on the bed by himself, right? I could have never predicted that he would learn to jump up on my computer chair and get to my desk. And so the other day, he destroyed my thermometer. So now I don't know when I have fevers. Because my dog really likes to climb things. He's such a destructive little guy. Silly little man. Ozzy would never do that. Ozzy's so well behaved. Ozzy's a little angel. Was it a glass thermometer or something, or did he chew it? It was like a plastic thermometer with a little bit of metal on the end. He like chewed through it to the wires. He's a silly little dude. You're raising a sociopath. No, he's so sweet. He's just destructive and likes to pee on Daddy's side of the bed. Freddy's gonna be a dictator when he grows up. No! I'm gonna get you out of there. Need to dip all of your appliances in vinegar? Man. Asserting dominance, he really is. This morning, he peed on my husband's pillow. And only my husband's pillow. So I've been washing. I have to wash my sheets and my comforter every day because he pees on it. Every day. I've tried Nature's Miracle. I can't not keep him on the bed because he's big enough to just jump on it. Like, I can't keep him away from it unless I, like, somehow get a baby gate to put around my entire bed. How much do you spend on detergent? I don't think it's that much, but I still have to, like, wash, like, my sheets, like, every day. I remember Ozzy was similar to this until he was like 6 months old. And I brought it up to the vet tech when I took Freddie to the vet this Friday. And she was like, oh, you know, sometimes they just like are like that until they're like neutered. Like up until 6 months, sometimes they're just like really rebellious and like to pee on anything that's fabric. So, I don't know. Unless I can find like a baby gate that's big enough to put around my bed, I cannot. Let me look this up. Baby gate to put around bed to prevent dog. Let's see. Yeah, I think he'll grow out of it eventually. He's just a silly little guy right now. Because Ozzy was peeing on the bed until he was like 6 months old. And this baby is only 4 months old, so yeah. I cannot find a baby gate that is big enough to put around just my bed. I wonder, maybe if I like took it apart and like did something. 3 panel, 8 panel. I need something that I can like personalize. Something to think about. Wait, this looks awesome. Hold on. Chewy will always save my life. Let's see. Playpen extension kit. Wait, this is awesome. Wait, I might just do this. And I can change the shape of it. Maybe I should get this and just put it around my bed during the day. But then they have a bed that they can get into. They don't need to be on mommy's bed. Man, maybe I'll just do this. This isn't terribly expensive either. This is like 30 bucks. This is like 30 bucks. I think I can... How much is the bigger one? Yeah, that's like 30 bucks. That's like... Yeah, I will bookmark this and I can just like put it around my bed and prevent him from getting access to it. The days of Hiki awakening drenched in urine have ceased. See, the thing is, wanna know something? He does not pee in the bed if both of us are in the bed. He will only pee in the bed if he's not around. And so like, at bedtime, I have to like keep the baby out the bed until my husband is ready to go to bed. Otherwise, he will pee in his spot. He's scared of the fade. He's a fake demon. He's so good until he's not there anymore. Oh my gosh. Okay, hold on. I'm going to go to the restroom. Is this... What is free.mv? Hold on, I'm gonna change the text to be BRB. BRB. Okay, awesome. Okay. I'm going to go to the restroom. You guys stay here, okay? Be good. I returned. Hello. I left the room and And what do I come back to? Freddy's sitting in my computer chair. Freddy's sitting in my computer chair. As I thought. She's back. Scram. No! You finished the main part of Silk's song? Oh. Oh boy. Mark your territory. Marking your territory is different from peeing. You mean he could have streamed? Yes, he could have if he wanted to. But it just seemed like he wanted to take a nap in it because he was curled up in a ball when I came back. But now he's in the big bed with Ozzy and they're taking a nap. They're taking a little itty bitty nap. Obsessed with your scent? I guess so. He does love his mommy. He loves mommy. Mommy love. Mommy love. Mommy love. Mommy love. I always sing that to my dogs. It'll be like, Ozzy love. Ozzy love. Ozzy love. Ozzy love. And I'll do that with Freddy too. I don't know why. It's like a vocal stem with my dogs and they like it a lot. Love it so much. Yummy water. Oh yeah, members. Anyone who is a member, I'm having a members only stream tomorrow. If you guys remember a little while ago, I did like a members doodle request where I just doodled stuff that you guys wanted me to. I'm going to do that again tomorrow. I'm going to do that again for members tomorrow. Do you do that to the bearded dragon? I should. My mom likes to sing to the bearded dragon, actually. My mom likes to sing to the beardy. My mom really likes our beardy. She is very keen on the beardy. Big stretch. Oh yeah, I decided to check my, not check, but I guess like get updates on my fan mail email a little bit more. There we go. Everything seems to be in order. There we go. Bless Shiki Mama, but didn't you say she was tone deaf? Yeah. 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 Love her so much. I want you guys to hear my dad sing sometime. I think that'd be awesome. That would be awesome. It obviously wasn't a genetic condition given her. What the helly? What the helly? Alright, let's continue. We're on part 4 now. Hi everyone, I've been exploring today. New city, new layouts to learn. I'm getting good at memorizing cities. Thank you all for your support and suggestions. Once again, these are all past events, but I'm taking your ideas into consideration for how to fight back here. In the present, a few of you have offered to help in other ways and I appreciate the offers, but this is my fight. I've ruined so many other lives by involving other people. No, David is mine to ruin even if I die trying. Also, I've looked back over it and realized I forgot something, but now I've forgotten what it was. So, forgive me if I make a correction in the next part. Another thing, I try to talk to as many people as I can in the comments unless my reply will have to contain spoilers. But live events have forced me to limit that interaction because of time and the sheer number of you. Forgive me. Now, I'll continue. I called Clark's mom right away. I had their home phone number because last Christmas, Clark invited me to his house for Christmas dinner, since my parents and I were still fighting pretty harshly. He'd already gone home while I had to work, so he gave me the phone number just in case I get lost, and he didn't answer his cell. She was devastated and asked me a million questions. It was very, very uncomfortable. She agreed to drive down that day and post bail for him. She lived a few hours away, so she'd be here at around 5 p.m. The county we were in didn't allow online payments via credit card, cash only, so she had to physically drive down. In the middle of the phone call, I missed a call from a number that wasn't in my contacts. I called back and they answered immediately. Hi, I missed a call from this number? Hi, is this Xander? Yes, who is this? Xander, I'm Katie's mom. Your parents gave me your number. Shit. Hi, I can't talk now. I'm in a rush and She cut me off. Have you heard from Katie? She didn't come home last night. Your mom gave me your number. Please tell me she's with you. She's not, I said. I'm not sure where she is. I have to go. I'll call you back. You sound so suspicious right now, dude. You sound so suspicious. I hung up the phone. I didn't want to talk to her about Katie because I was about to file her missing person report. I walked over to the reception desk. I was just talking to an officer and then he arrested my friend and walked off. I need to talk to the officer on the other case about identity fraud. What case number? The lady asked. A while later, I was sitting in one of their interrogation rooms after asking for a private meeting. Detective Hernandez sat at the opposite end of a metal table. My 2 case files were on the table in front of him. He was glancing through them, trying to familiarize himself with the break-in report. The tape recorder sat between us. He pressed a button on the recorder and the tape started rolling. He stated his name, my case numbers, the date, and the time. All right, go ahead, he said. So, I submitted a report for identity theft a while ago and haven't heard anything about it. The FTC can take some time to respond, he replied. Well, now there's a new report for a break-in at my apartment. I was talking to another officer earlier and told him that I have a suspect for both crimes. Yes, the detective said, looking over one of the folders. He had both cases on the table. One, David King, correct? Looks like it was written on your file. Yes, David King. He used to be a friend of mine, but now he hates me and has been targeting me. Targeting you how? Most recently, he kidnapped my girlfriend, Katie. That caught his attention. He pulled a pen from his front pocket. When was this? He asked, setting his pen on a blank page. Last night, when we went to graffiti his house, he chased after us and pinned me to a table. He called someone on the phone and had them put Katie on the phone. I heard her voice and he claimed he kidnapped her to motivate me. Motivate you to do what? Hernandez asked. I told him about the DARE conversation, then about all the junk mail, my online accounts, my credit card fraud, my parents' credit being targeted, my car's windows, the break-in, my bank account being emptied, the graffiti incident, Katie's phone call, protecting Clark's bank and online accounts, and now Clark's arrest. Hernandez took copious notes. It just keeps escalating, I said in defeat. I watched Hernandez carefully trying to gauge his reactions. I couldn't tell what he believed. I need more details about the phone call, he said at last. What did she say? What did you say? What did you hear on the other end? We talked through everything for an hour. Nothing I said was useful for finding Katie, but Hernandez said back after I finished. Xander, I have to be honest. This all sounds very loose. I don't mean the crimes themselves, I mean the connections linking David to all these crimes. There's nothing that can be done about the identity theft until the FTC has finished their investigation. The break-in, broken windows, hacked accounts, and emptied bank account will have to produce their own evidence to prove that David committed each one. To you, this is all one timeline of events, but to the law they are separate crimes that have to be treated with no regard for past actions. He said. His tone was reasonable and concerned. I believe you, but I can't make an arrest without witnesses or hard evidence. Your story is circumstantial at best, but I do believe you when you say they are connected. Finally, someone believes me. What have the techs said about the break-in? I asked. They said they found a few fingerprints? All the fingerprints found belong to each of you and a few other people who used to live there. According to the file, they have all been confirmed as past residents. And what about the ATM camera? Not all brands do. Some ATMs don't have cameras built in, and this was one of them. Someone logged into your online bank account right before the ATM transaction and moved all your money from savings into your checking account. Also increased your ATM withdrawal limit to $5,000 while online, which was above the $3,500 you had in your account. Normally, you can only withdraw $500 per day. What about the store's cameras? I practically shouted. I asked for them to bring the footage down. They said they'll be in today, he said. Where's the store? I asked. I want to see this for myself. No, he said firmly. I may have inclination to lean towards your theory, but I will collect the evidence myself and a court will decide. You steer clear. And drive down yourself right now, goddammit, I yelled. He stood slightly, his hand reaching for his belt automatically. Calm down, he said, looking me in the eyes. I have no money, I shouted. My car windows are smashed, and I can't repair them. My rent will be due, and I'll have no way to pay. I can't get to work in a car I can't drive. I need my money back. Hernandez sighed. Sitting back down, I breathed heavily. If David is the one who used your information to commit credit card fraud, why would he steal a measly $3,500 from you, he asked. Because he's dead set on ruining my life, I muttered. That's the dare. He's taken it too far, further than any sane person would. He's sick. I just want it to stop, I said. I cried a little, and Hernandez let me sit in silence for a minute with tears rolling down my cheeks. What about Katie? I asked after a while. The kidnapping is going to get top priority. That's the one case that has a witness. You. I won't be working on it, but someone in a different section of the department will be. The other detective will want to interview you today and get started. Let's do it then, I said, wiping my eyes. Hernandez stepped out and returned a while later with the detective. Detective White came in and probed me with hundreds of questions. Where did she work? Who were her friends? How long had we been together? When did I last see her? Do her parents know? Questions like that. When I brought up David in the phone call, he leaned in and asked me the same questions about what I'd heard, what I'd said, and anything I could remember. Again, I didn't remember anything helpful. I'll need to bring David in for questioning, Detective White said. Your testimony is decent, but we'll need more evidence for conviction. I can't arrest him because I need more proof. If we arrest him without enough proof, he'll walk free and can't be tried again. You had enough proof to arrest Clark, I shouted. Clark? Detective White asked. I was just talking with an officer who said David called in and told you all that Clark graffitied his house. All he had to do was call, and he got arrested. Detective White excused himself to go find out more about what had happened. He came back 5 minutes later. I'm gonna drink some more water. David has more proof on that case, Detective said. Photographs of the graffiti, photographs of Clark coming up to the house, his own testimony about recognizing Clark, and a bruised face. Clark's hand is also cut up, which corroborates his story. We noticed it when we booked him. This is the kind of evidence we need to convict a kidnapping. Right now, we have your testimony stating you said hello to Katie on the phone, and that David said he'd kidnapped her. We need more evidence to convince a jury. But I was with Clark, I yelled. In the pictures you weren't, he said. Then they're fakes! An expert will check them and determine that. I sat back in my chair, feeling defeated. Detective White thanked me for my testimony and left to contact Katie's parents. Detective Hernandez sat back down, watching me as tears welled up in my eyes again. Let me pay for your windows, he said. It won't matter. He'll break them again the next day, I said angrily. He's broken them more than once? Every time I repair them, they're smashed again the next day. I might have an idea, he said, but I'll need approval from my boss. Ooh. If you haven't heard of entrapment in the context of a police investigation, it's a legal defense that's used when evidence can be shown that an officer induces a criminal to commit a crime they wouldn't otherwise commit. When this defense is used, there are two different views. In some courts, it's a defendant using entrapment as a defense. The prosecution has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that the criminal was not entrapped. In other courts, the defense has to prove that it was entrapped. The state I was in required the prosecution to do the proving. Hernandez recognized that his plan could be construed as entrapment, and he explained this to me as we walked to his boss's office. He told me that since David had already established a pattern of breaking my windows, Hernandez could set up surveillance on the car and just wait for David to commit the crime he was going to do anyway. Since I had repaired my windows twice and had kept the receipts, that would serve as good evidence that the crime had been repetitive. The idea made me hopeful. I sat outside his boss's office while he walked in and presented his idea. When he walked out, he gave me a thumbs up. David would never know what hit him. Hernandez drove me to my house where I picked up my car and took it to a repair shop. He followed me over there and paid. We drove to my work in Hernandez's car while they worked on it. Hernandez ordered some lunch, and I talked to my boss. I told him about my bank account and getting hacked and that I needed to cancel direct deposit. Luckily, payroll was next week, so they'd be able to change the method of payment by the next paycheck. I told him about my situation, and Hernandez backed me up. He agreed to pay some of my wages in advance out of the store's petty cash until payday came, and I was to pay him back. I thanked him profusely for helping me out and apologized for having to call in sick that day. I walked out with a full stomach, $335, and a calm mind. With any luck, we'd catch David tonight. Hernandez took me back to the shop, and I picked up my car. I tried to pay from the money I received, but he refused, saying I could pay him back after this was all resolved. He told me he'd be at my house later on to start their surveillance and to just park my car on the street. I thanked him again before we parted. It was about 3 p.m. when I got home. I parked my car several blocks away next to several others for camouflage. I didn't want David to find it and smash the windows before tonight. The walk was hot, and cool air conditioning welcomed me into my house. "Excuse me?" someone asked timidly as I unlocked my front door. I peeked my head back outside. There was an older woman on the landing, probably in her 40s. "Yes," I replied. "You live in that apartment, I'm guessing," she said. "Yes." "I'm Mrs. Watson. I believe you and my son are roommates." Oh, hello," I said, extending my hand. "Whose mom are you?" "Isaac," she replied. "He and I were supposed to be driving out of state to visit family yesterday, but he never showed up." A chill ran up my spine. "I've called him 1,000 times, but he hasn't answered," she continued. "I've been standing here ringing the doorbell for a while, but no one has been home. Can I go knock on his door?" I considered asking her to leave or telling her that I wasn't comfortable with her coming in, but I knew that would have been suspicious. I knew what we were going to find. "You do?" I told her to come in, and instantly the smell overtook us. She tried to be polite and not offend me, probably thinking we were typical college guys living like pigs. She walked down the hall to Isaac's room. "Oh, God," she muttered. The smell must have been horrific right by the door. I shuddered, but went down the hall towards her. She knocked. "Isaac?" she called. No answer, as I expected. "Isaac, it's Mom," she said. I think the smell made her start to panic because she pounded harder on the door. "Isaac? Open up, please," she pleaded desperately. I sighed. Gently, I guided her away from the door and braced myself. I took a running start and slammed into the door. It bit heavily, but the latch didn't break. I tried again and again. On the fourth try, the door wrenched open and I was inside. The smell. Oh, God. I didn't know how many times I can tell you about it until you understand. This was one of those moments where I'll remember every detail forever. Oh wait, I already said that. Isaac's room was a mess. There were 3 bookshelves that likely used to have tons of books, but the shelves were torn apart and books scattered across the room. His computer desk had paper scattered across it and cups knocked over. The window was darkened by a blackout curtain and used for gaming. The large gaming computer under the desk hummed, and the monitor showed stars moving around for a screensaver. Isaac was on the bed. His face was pale and patchy with purple lines. His arms and legs were white and also bruised, and an extension cord trailed off the bed, the middle being wrapped around his neck several times. Some flies nested on his body, flying to another spot occasionally. Mrs. Watson entered the room and screamed. I just stood there, staring at Isaac's dilapidated body. David had jumped to murder. I called the police and tried to get Mrs. Watson to leave the apartment and preserve the crime scene. She refused and sat sobbing next to Isaac's bed. She was afraid to touch him. The police came immediately and escorted Mrs. Watson and I out of the apartment. The next few hours were a blur of questions and police. Detective Hernandez showed up and looked inside. Techs were carrying in cameras and briefcases full of equipment. After a while, they started to carry out some of Isaac's belongings in bags. His gaming computer took 2 techs to carry out. I sat on the curb nearby, not being allowed to leave by the head officer who was running the scene. Hernandez sat next to me. They broke open your other roommate's door. All his belongings are there, but your roommate isn't. Do you know where he is? No, I replied. I never talked to him much. Were you close to Isaac, he asked? No, but it's still... I know, he said. Do you think David is behind this too? He asked. Probably, I replied, feeling numb. We'll still carry out the surveillance, he assured me. Don't worry, they'll analyze Isaac's body, If they find so much as a fleck of skin that we can link to David, we'll nail him. No criminal is perfect. Hernandez left me alone, and I thought over the situation. Then a parked car nearby. Then a car parked nearby. And out stepped Clark with his mom. I jumped up and ran over to him. "Oh my God, Clark, are you okay?" I asked. "I'm fine," he smiled reassuringly. "Posted bail. It's $350, so not awful." "I thought you said you'd be here by 5, I asked Clark's mom. Side note, I don't remember the exact time she got there, but I do remember she was earlier than expected. I was going to meet them both at the station. "I may have broken a few speed limits," she said in a neutral tone. "What happened?" Clark's face suddenly went cold when he saw the policeman near our door. "Isaac was found," I said, "in his room." I didn't have to specify what state he was in. "Jesus Christ," Clark gasped, putting his hands on his knees. He started hyperventilating, and his mom worriedly put a hand on his back. "Clark, honey, let's just go for a drive. We can get your stuff later." "Your stuff?" I asked. "He's moving out," his mom said sharply. "He told me all about the sick game your friend is playing. I don't think it's very funny." "It's not funny," I shouted. "It never was. This fucking asshole is trying to ruin my life. It's not a game." A few of the policemen turned to watch me from the balcony. Her jaw tightened and she guided her hyperventilating son into the car. They drove away, and I was left in the middle of the street, watching my best friend lead me to handle David alone. Ooh. 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 Things are heating up. Things are heating up, guys. That's crazy. He's probably gonna blame him for it. My goodness. My throat hurts so bad, but I want to keep going. I want to keep going. Aw, poor Shiki. It's okay. It's really good. I want to keep reading it. Okay, we'll see how I feel after reading this next part, and then we'll decide if we end off here, and then we can read the rest in a separate stream. If this ends and it turns out David was dead the whole time, I'm becoming a VTuber. Oh, like Xander just came up with this whole thing in his head. Because there's 8 parts, and we're on part 5. We're about to start part 5. And I see here, down at the bottom, there's a series 2? What do you mean, series 2? What is series 2? Oh, it's a sequel series. It's a sequel series, guys. Oh my gosh. This is going crazy. Yeah, there's a sequel series. Okay. I'm not gonna read his, like, previous, like, comment to the audience, and I'm just gonna get straight into it. The police took Isaac out in a body bag. Mrs. Watson left with the body, still sobbing uncontrollably. I was told that I couldn't go into my apartment until they were completely done with the crime scene. No, they didn't know when that would be. They suggested a hotel room, which I laughed at. I asked if I could grab a blanket and a pillow from my room so I could sleep in my car. They reluctantly brought it to me, and I gagged when I grabbed them. They smelled like death. Hernandez offered to get me a motel room or just let me stay at his place, or even begged me to call a friend and stay with them. I refused all 3. I walked to my car and ignored Hernandez. I was still too mad about everything and devastated that Clark had left. Besides, we couldn't do surveillance in the car while I slept in it. I marched all the way to my car and slammed the door hard. I decided I didn't feel safe parking near my house to sleep, so I went to a Walmart parking lot for the night. It was as if fate had finally begun to root to me. I was walking towards the Walmart entrance from the parking lot to buy some food. When I was only a few cars away, an armored truck pulled up. The ones that carry the money over to the bank, you know what I mean. And who do you think stepped out of the truck? David fucking King. I strafed to my left and got behind a car, using the back tinted windows to observe. He was laughing with his partner, who got out of the passenger side. I was too far away to hear what they were saying, but I definitely didn't recognize the partner as anyone I knew. It was obviously paranoia, but I wondered if he could be the one who had made Katie speak into the phone. The two of them walked into Walmart, and I took note of the company that owned the truck. And then I had an idea. My first real idea on how I could fight back now that I knew where David was right this second. I sprinted back to my car. A little while later, I pulled up to Miss K's house. I got out, looked around, making sure David hadn't somehow beaten me here or followed me. I had to hurry. Who knew how much longer his shift would last? I knocked on the door and Mrs. K opened it. "Hello, Xander," she said cheerfully. "Hi, Mrs. K, can I come in?" 5 minutes later, I was rifling through David's room. Had to hurry, had to find something useful and fast. I told Mrs. K that years ago I'd let David borrow a video game and just now remembered and wanted to pick it up. She had happily let me go into his room and find them. I'd booted up his ancient laptop, but it was taking forever to load. Why the hell hadn't he bought a new laptop with all the money he stole? That would have made good evidence. I glanced at every paper I saw, hoping for something. Written plans, a checklist, a receipt, anything. Every paper I found was normal from what I could see. His room was a disaster, which worked in my favor. He may have dropped something incriminating and not known about it. I stuffed every flash drive I could find into my pocket as I went. He had 4 of them laying around. They might have incriminating evidence on them. The laptop finally booted, and I instantly tried to log in. No luck. Password protected. I should have known, considering how tech-savvy he'd been in hacking my accounts. In fact, all the incriminating data was probably on the laptop. He wouldn't bother printing anything out. That gave me an idea. I picked up the laptop and flipped it over. A toolbox laid under the table, and I snapped a screwdriver from it. Using the screwdriver, I went to work disassembling the laptop. When I finished, I held his hard drive up in my hand. "I will ruin you, David King," I whispered. I reassembled the laptop. Something caught my eye under the bed. A box. Furrowing my eyebrows, I pulled it towards me. It was a shoebox with dust covering the top. A few spots were less dusty where someone had handled the lid. I opened it slowly and peered inside. It contained a 1/4-inch thick stack of pages, all bound together by a binder clip. The box was too small to let the pad lay flat, so it curled in the box. The pages were old and worn. They'd clearly been handled frequently. I lifted it out and noticed that it looked like a research paper. The front page had a title in the middle of the page and an author at the bottom. Psychological Evaluation for David Edward King. The bottom of the page had the name of the institute and psychologist that had done the study, as well as the year. I did the math, and the evaluation must have been done when he was 16. Jackpot. I stuffed it under my shirt as best I could to hide its square form. The laptop was set back in its place as if it were never moved. David would know something was wrong eventually, but not until he booted it up. I gave a last look around and wondered if there was anything else I should do. With no decent ideas, I left David's house. Mrs. K gave me a brownie on my way out. On the drive back to Walmart, I tried to come up with a plan. I couldn't take this to the police because it was illegally obtained evidence and wouldn't be admissible in court. I knew that from a bunch of crime shows, I had to get all the evidence myself and somehow get it into the police's hands legally. When I parked at the Walmart, it still wasn't that late. I walked inside, carrying the flash drives and psychological evaluation with me. I used the demo computers to look at the contents of the flash drive. Looking back now, I'm amazed they let USB sticks work on the demo machines. The first flash drive had old high school papers on it. Nothing useful there. The second and third drives were bootable drives that could boot Linux. I don't expect everyone to understand what that means. It's not important. It was on the fourth flash drive that I had my first breakthrough of evidence. It contained a single text file that had been edited the day before. As I read through it, I realized that it was a conversation. With my current understanding, the flash drive was how David and his kidnapping partner had been communicating. David would write a message and hide the flash drive in a predetermined place, then the kidnapper would go pick it up and read the messages. The process would reverse when the kidnapper had a message to pass along. A lot of you will probably say, why wouldn't they just use encrypted emails? That's so much faster and safer. If they had used any kind of network to communicate, some internet service provider or some cell phone provider like Comcast would have a log entry of the messages being exchanged, even if the data was encrypted. Encrypted data is never 100% secure. If you dedicate enough processing power, you can crack any encryption. It may take thousands of years in some cases, but it can still be cracked. With our current advances in computing power, that could change to be even faster. David and his partner had reduced the risk of being caught by limiting who had access to the information. If you send an email to me via Reddit, I'm not the only one that gets the message. It passes through several servers and routers who all make a note that a message passed through it at a specific time. It leaves a trail. Unless you can erase the logs of those servers, you leave a trail no matter how you send your data. There was certainly risk that someone could find the flash drive, plug it in, and find all this data like I had. But that could be reduced by choosing decent hiding places. If you plan to pass messages this way, don't leave it laying around your room. Especially don't leave it unencrypted. I still don't know why it wasn't encrypted. The text file would have a line, then skip a line, and add another where the next response was. I don't have the flash drive or a copy of the conversations anymore, so I'll have to paraphrase as accurately as I can. As easily as I can remember. I use bullet points here on Reddit to format it more easily for you. Payment received? Yes. Last half of payment comes when this is all over. How long? Depends on him. Good? Good. No suspicion? A quiet grab. Was she harmed? She fought. A couple bruises. Otherwise fine. There are some extra lines in between marking the start of a new conversation. Any new information? A kidnapping report has been filed with the police. Change locations every 2 days as previously discussed. Are you well supplied? We have enough in the truck to keep moving and stay operational. Good. With any luck, this will be over soon. Once he makes an irreversible mistake... I'm scared! I shuddered as I closed the text file. That was damning evidence. I checked who the owner of the file was. It was blank. Well, that would have been too convenient. I googled the kind of cable I would need to hook the hard drive up to a computer and bought an SATA to USB cable. I was thankful that the demo computers were in an aisle out of the view of the employees in the tech center. To people who don't know technology, I'm convinced I look like a hacker. Let me give you another lesson on technology, since I seem to be giving so many in this series. When you boot your computer, it asks for a password if you've set one. Without the password, you can't access the hard drive unless you do some hacked up workaround. In some cases, however, you can unplug the hard drive and plug it into another computer instead. The new computer will treat it like a regular external hard drive and voila, you have access. Unfortunately, David had encrypted his entire hard drive, so it was useless to me at the moment until I had some spare time to either guess the password or find someone who could crack it. Going to the summer supplies section of the store, I took a seat and pulled out the psychological evaluation and looked at the cover page again. Psychological evaluation for David Edward King. I hope you realize that I've removed the institution, author, and data for privacy's sake. I spent an hour skimming the contents, using the table of contents to navigate. I constantly had to look up lengthy words on my phone, but I was beginning to understand what went on in David's sick little mind. I won't give you an entire rundown of his whole life, but the report contained transcripted interviews with his parents about incidents, a psychologist's observation while holding David in confinement, and a general list of events that had occurred in David's life that may have traumatized him. These are the ones I remember. David set fire to animals constantly and poked them with various objects. When a snake lunged and bit him once in his backyard, his mom came out to find him whipping the limp body against a tree, gut spraying everywhere. His only explanation was, it tried to hurt me. He was found designing traps for rabbits and other animals that were expertly hidden and designed. He claimed to have never looked at wilderness guides to make them. His mother later found entire notebooks containing designs for traps. The traps were aimed at getting both animals and humans. His father died when he was 12, which affected him greatly. He became quiet and reserved for years. The first day of high school, however, he changed overnight and became charismatic, energetic, and clever. In middle school, one of his teachers had been interviewed after an incident. She noticed that 3 boys had begun picking on David, but he quietly took whatever they gave him. One day, she came to class and all 3 boys sat ramrod straight and stared straight ahead. They didn't dare look at David, and David was smirking and trying to hide it. Finally, let me try to summarize what the psychologist wrote about David. David seems to have a constant need to harm other living things and cause suffering. Once in my office, I found him stomping his feet on the floor. I asked him what he was doing, and he admitted that he was trying to crush anything microscopic that could be on the floor. I seriously fear that he will not be able to remain in society without serious medication and therapy. I had no idea that David had any of these problems or experiences. He and I met when we were both 17. He'd been exactly as the report described, charismatic, energetic, and clever. I felt blind for not seeing any red flags, but I knew that he had hidden them well intentionally. The psychologist made another entry a month later. David seems to have performed a complete 180 in his mood, actions, and demeanor. He has been polite and kind every time he has come in, and is very capable of being fully functional. The sentence struck me as odd. Months of statement about David's instability, and suddenly this comes out? I googled the professor's name. He died in a car crash the same year as the publication date on this evaluation. Son of a bitch. I reread the very last entry. I recognized the words for what they were. A coerced recommendation to re-enter society. I could feel the psychologist's words scream through the page. Good God, he's going to kill me. No wonder David was so prepared. No wonder he was always ahead of me. No wonder his expression had spread such an absolute fear through me that night he chased Clark and I. He was insane. He designed traps. He knew what made people and animals tick. He enjoyed inflicting pain on them, and not just that, but watching them suffer. David was absolutely insane. Insane, but functional. That's what made him dangerous. I hunkered down in my seat and brought up a Word document in my phone where I could take notes. Then, I started Googling. You know what I'm talking about. You're facing a problem, and so you start searching for anything online that can help you fix your problem. The internet was a wonderful tool for me at this moment. Without it, I'd be dead months ago. I was kicked out of the Walmart for loitering, but I continued my research in my car. I turned the car on every once in a while to drive around and charge my battery. That night, I learned about hacking, phones, Android, surveillance, police procedure, legal procedure, and all kinds of subject that relates to my situation. I took dutiful notes and outlined areas for further research and learning. During my research, I found a list of apps that could be used for hacking someone's phone. I checked my installed applications, and can you guess what I found buried in my phone? One of those apps. David fucking King had been eavesdropping and tracking me through my phone. Instead of deleting the app, however, I kept it. It could be useful in the future. I also researched the company David apparently worked for. It was a larger company that served several states, providing both long and short distance transport of valuable goods. This was good information. If his job was to handle valuable goods, then it could be an easy way to get him fired or even charged if some of it disappeared from his truck. His truck was long gone by then, so I had no current opportunity. During all hours of the night, Hernandez would call me. So would Katie's mom. I ignored them both. That was a big mistake, I'll later learn. When the sun rose, I didn't feel tired. I felt empowered. Finally, I knew more about my situation and enough to be useful. I knew how to get those hard drives to the police legally, but I need Clark and Hernandez's help. I never got to use that plan, though. Reality caught up with me. David moved too quickly. I was driving to my apartment to see if I could brush my teeth, take a shower at least before work that day. When my phone buzzed. It was Hernandez. I answered it reluctantly, prepared to get an earful for ignoring him all night. "Xander, where are you?" he asked. "Driving to my apartment," I replied. "You need to come to the police station," he said slowly. "Right away." "Why? What's up?" I asked. "It's bad," he said with a cringe. Confused, I hung up and turned right, heading towards the police station. I walked into the police station lobby to find Hernandez waiting for me. "Did Isaac's body turn up anything?" I asked, looking at his worried expression. "They're still analyzing it," he said. Then he took a deep breath. "Some new development has come up." I gave him a questioning look, and then felt cold metal click around my right wrist. I reacted, but the 2 cops who had flanked me pulled my arms together. The metal clicked around my other wrist, handcuffing me. "What the hell?" I shouted. The policemen each grabbed one of my arms. Xander, I know you're upset about everything that's going on, Hernandez said quietly, but what you did went way too far. What the fuck are you talking about? Hernandez held up a bag containing a phone. He used the touchscreen through the bag and navigated to the phone's voicemail. The voicemail was jolty and sounded like whoever had the phone was running. Wind struck the mic, making it hard to hear in places, but the voice was unmistakable. It was mine. Fuck you, jackass. You ruined my credit, stole my money, hacked my accounts, and stole my shit. I'm gonna kill you. You think I need motivation to hurt you? I'm gonna kill you, you son of a bitch. You'll burn in hell, you'll burn. My heart shuddered a halt. I had said those things. I had literally said those things the night David chased us and pinned me to the table. I said every word. The bastard had been recording the whole thing, and now has edited it into a threatening voicemail. David King's home burned down last night, he said slowly, watching me, gauging me. David and his mother were still inside. Firefighters found David alive and were able to pull him out, but his mother was already dead. That voicemail was sent to his phone from yours at around the time firefighters estimate the fire started. I lost my breath. My eyes watered. The world closed in. I couldn't speak. Couldn't defend myself. Couldn't explain. Xander Jones, you're under arrest. Uh-oh. 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 And unfortunately, that is where we have to stop for the day because my throat is about to give out. David's alive, no VTuber career for me. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, guys. There's still 3 parts, but my throat, I don't think I can handle reading anymore. Oh. Do you guys like the story so far? You guys like the story so far? I know it can get kind of silly in parts. No problem, suspense is good. La épique. Do you know when the rest will be? Let's see. Let's see. I can probably do next week. I can probably do next week. Yes. I can probably do next week. Yes. No sleep reading. Yeah. This would make a pretty good little movie. Heck yeah. Yeah, we can do this next week. Honestly, I've been listening to a guy reviewing creepypastas on a technical writing level recently, and it's made me notice more that the story is kind of wonkily written. Yeah. For sure. But it is a fun read. It is a fun read. A little silly, but it's a fun read. But yeah, we can definitely continue and finish it up next week. That's most of them, to be fair. Yeah, that's true. Wow. Wow. Davis Morgan, he's a good one. Ooh. Oh my goodness. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining us for a little no sleep story reading. We're definitely gonna finish this off next week. Likely Wednesday? Probably on Wednesday. I think I may only have 3 streams next week because I have a lot that I need to get done, and a lot is gonna go on next week, and I want to spend some time with my mom. So that is the deal. Tomorrow we have a members only stream at 10 a.m. PT. We're gonna be doing some members only doodle requests. So if you're interested in seeing me doodle some little stuff tomorrow, then I will be there tomorrow. And if I don't see you in a member stream, I'll see you the next day. What do I have planned for Wednesday? I don't remember, actually. I think it's the Pokemon Echo demo. Yeah, it's a little Pokemon fan game that I was interested in trying out. So yeah, if I don't see you in the member stream, I'll see you on Wednesday for Pokemon Echo. Yes. Thank you guys so much for coming out today, and I will see you all later. Bye bye for now. Yashiki, have a wonderful rest of your day, guys. Bye bye. Mwah, 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 mwah.